Hi, I'm BL Garrett. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I make films on ordinary, average, everyday people. Everybody's got a story. I got into filmmaking about 3.5 years ago. I wanted to make a film on my 88-year-old grandfather. He grew up poor on a farm in Oklahoma. His father was a sharecropper. He served in World War II in the South Pacific and later went on to start his own business and have a successful career. He's really a modern-day John Wayne. I knew nothing about filmmaking, and really all my resources came from YouTube, which is kind of a scary thought. There's so much information out there, and I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours researching cameras, lighting, audio, tripods, monopods, shotgun mics, lavalier mics, recorders, I mean, you name it. So today I'm going to talk about the equipment that I landed on and how it's worked for me and the strengths and some of the weaknesses of my equipment. The first thing I'll talk about is my camera. I landed on a Panasonic GH3. At the time, the GH2 was still out and kind of all the rage. You could, on Vimeo, YouTube, I mean, I was seeing this beautiful footage of hacked GH2s. And I was amazed by, really how small the camera was, and that intrigued me. I thought to get footage like that, it had to be this big, bulky camera that, sat on your shoulder, and I was just unaware that, a DSLR type camera could do something like that. I ended up going with the GH3 for a couple of reasons. The main reason was battery life. I can literally on one battery use my GH3 for almost 5 hours. And another thing that I like about my GH3 is that I can put a 128 gig SD card in and film at 50 megabits per second for 5.5 hours, which is remarkable. So I always have two 128 gig cards on me. I have two batteries on me. So if I ever go out to a shoot, say I have a subject, I'm making a film, and I go out and I have an 8-hour day, I can film all day with those two batteries and really one SD card, to tell you the truth. I sometimes use another, go to the other SD card, but usually the one SD card gets me through the day. Some of the things I really like about the GH3 is that it will film in 60 frames per second, 30 frames per second, and 24 frames per second. I usually use a 24 frames per second. It films up to 72 megabits per second, but I usually use the 50 megabits per second and 24 frames per second. And it really gives me the HD, the 1080p HD quality that I'm looking for. I also love the LCD screen in the back. It flips out, it swivels. So whenever I'm interviewing somebody and I'm sitting next to the camera, I can pull the LCD screen out sideways and I can monitor the footage to make sure that we're still recording, to make sure that we're in focus. That's a huge thing. It's got an HDMI output that I love, and it's also got real-time audio jack where I can plug headphones in and listen to the in-camera audio. Audio-wise, I use two Zoom H1 recorders, and I use I have two lavalier mics that are made by Giant Squid. This is really a great bargain, if you're just getting into filmmaking. I mean, there's a lot of recorders out there that I'm sure are much better quality. But if you're kind of just getting into filmmaking and you want to step up your game to have something better than your in-camera audio, I highly recommend the Zoom H1. They cost $99 a piece, and the Giant Squid lavalier mic costs $50. So basically, two audio recorders and two lavalier mics for $300 is a great bargain. I also have a Rode VideoMic Pro shotgun mic that I mount on the hot shoe on top of the GH3 camera. I use that really to sync the audio with the recorded sound that I get from the recorders and the lavalier mic. I also use it for B-roll footage, you know, just kind of the background noise and kind of chatter. It works out great. The GH3 is great because, you know, the micro four thirds camera, it looks like a stills camera, like just a regular picture camera. And it's really great when I'm out in public, I'm getting B-roll footage. People think that I'm taking pictures. They don't know that I'm getting the footage from this little powerhouse. A lot of times friends and family, you know, that have seen a lot of my stuff, I'll be out and I'll have my camera and they'll be like, hey, well, what camera do you use when you make your films? And I'm like, this camera right here. And it's really amazing the footage I get from it. It doesn't shoot 4K, but I don't really need 4K yet. You know, I am looking to upgrade in the next 6 months or so. I might go to the Panasonic GH4, but I can tell you right now, I looked on B&H Photo, and you can buy a brand new GH3 for $549, and I'm seriously considering going that way. I always, when I have a job, I always rent an additional camera, usually the Panasonic GH3. I use lensrental.com. They've done me right. I've used them probably 24 times. They always ship it on time. It's, you know, it's my same camera. Of course, I have the lenses for it. So I always have that for a backup, and I use one for a wide angle shot and a close-up shot for my films. So if one fails me, I've got the backup. Let's talk about lenses. When I first got the camera, something that I had learned from the Drew Network, he talked about these iconic lenses that were made in the 80s by NIKKOR. So I bought a 28mm f2.8 AIS, and I bought a NIKKOR 50mm 1.8 AI. These lenses were made in the early 80s, and it's some of the greatest glass I've ever seen. The cool thing about it is I buy all my lenses used at KEH.com. And these lenses were not that expensive. I mean, I think for the two lenses, I spent like almost $300. So those were really my first two lenses. I also purchased a 14mm Panasonic pancake lens. I believe it's a f2.5. So that was kind of my wide angle, and it had autofocus, which is nice when you're shooting B-roll. You're kind of following somebody, trying to do some steady cam work with your wide angle. It was really a nice piece to my collection. But all my early films, I use the 50mm and the 28mm to interview my subjects, and all my filming was pretty much done with that. I've added two more lenses to my collection since then. Last year I purchased a Olympus 45mm, and it's an f1.8, and it is a beautiful portrait lens. I mean, for taking pictures and filming. I mean, this is like one of my favorite lenses, and I bought it, I think, for $250 brand new on Amazon. And I think it was an international version. You didn't get a warranty with it, but you know, I'll roll the dice on that to save $100. Secondly, my last lens and my most favorite lens is the Panasonic 12 to 35mm. That's what I'm filming myself on right now with my Panasonic GH3. It's got autofocus, and it's got onboard stabilization. This lens, I think I fell in love with that. Griffin Hammond made a documentary called Sriracha, and he made the whole documentary with my Panasonic GH3 and a Panasonic 12 to 35mm, and I was like blown away with the clarity, how it looked, and I wanted to have one. At the time it was like $1,200. I couldn't afford that, so you know, I waited a year and a half, and I just bought one without the warranty on Amazon for $765. So it's been a great addition. It's nice when I interview somebody. I mean, the worst thing ever is interviewing somebody for an hour and a half and then going home to edit and you pull up the footage and it's soft. I mean, just soft enough where you're like, I can't use this footage. And you know, it looked great when I focused in on them, but it was soft. So with the new lens, I don't have to worry about that with the 45mm or the 12 to 35mm. The Panasonic GH3 has a 2x crop factor, so my 45mm really is a 90mm, and the 12 to 35 comes out to a 24 to 70mm focal length. Price was really a major factor in purchasing the used Panasonic GH3 from KEH.com. I believe I bought it for $800 used. One thing about KEH.com is that how they market the condition of the equipment is it's like no other. I mean, if it says like new, I mean it's brand new. I mean, they have excellent, and then you know it goes all the way down to bargain. And I've had friends that have bought in bargain lenses and there was nothing wrong with them. They were great. One thing I want to mention today about the companies I'm talking about that I've done business with, in no way am I paid by these companies. I'm just a satisfied customer, and believe me, you can check my bank account. It's not that big. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you ever have any questions, you can contact me directly at bl@blgarrettfilms.com. Have a great day.